Hello boys and girls, today we are going to be paper weaving. Here are a few examples of different types of weaving with paper. We are going to be working with the outline of the continent of Africa.
Hello boys and girls, you will be receiving an image on cardstock, which is a harder paper, like just a little bit thicker than regular printer paper, and it's going to have the image of Africa on it, the continent. Up at the top you're going to see it says Africa and a spot for your name. Please add your name. This continent is the back side. You're seeing the back of an art project. When it's all cut out and said and done, the image is going to be on this side. So we're working from the back. Eventually we will cut it out, but first you're going to see that there are these measured outlines inside. None of these lines should go over these little stop signs, these little tiny little vertical lines. You'll see horizontal lines and vertical lines, these little lines. You can't cut all the way through. You're going to be cutting along these lines. We're trying to set up a paper loom so that we can weave within this image of Africa. So what you're going to do is make sure you fold exactly in half. Edges meet. Place your fold, and you're going to see lines go up to a stop, a stop, a stop, a stop, a stop, just near the edge. And also, it's going to be on the flip side. Well, we are all going to start from this little part here. If you started on this other side and you cut all the way over, you would cut right through the continent, and we don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're all going to start on the same side, and we're going to just make tiny little cuts. Just barely a cut here and stop. Cut and stop. Cut and stop. Cut and stop. Then we're going to look over the other side and look at, we have a lot more room to do on the other side. Perfect. Flip it over, and we're just going a little bit on the southern edge of the continent of Africa. Cut. Cut. I'm going to look on the other side, making sure I didn't cut all the way over this edge, and I didn't. It's only maybe a quarter through. And going up and cutting and see, I'm going a little farther now, but I still have a long way to go. Now I can cut all the way over here, no problem. This is where it gets tricky again. Look, if I cut all the way over here and I flipped it over, I'd nearly cut it all off. So I'm just going to go halfway and stop. And look, whoo! I'm glad I didn't cut all the way through. Otherwise, I would have cut off and ruined my project. So I'm going to flip it over again and see how far I should go. I'm working on two sides. Flip it over. Woo! I already made a mistake. I'm going to have to tape this. Yep, I'm going to have to tape this. I don't think I want to start this over. So boys and girls, on this side, I think we should switch it and cut always on the shorter side. This is the shorter side. This is the longer side. So if we cut from this side, we won't make that mistake. That was my mistake. So let's cut these lines. The nice thing about having this paper folded is it's going to cut half of the other side while you're working. Stop and stop. Now we're setting up a loom, basically, a weaving. You're going to open it up, and you're going to see that it has all these great slices in it, which is going to be the warp or weft. I think it's the warp of our weaving. Now, if you touch these, you can see, oh, not all of these lines are cut through. So you're going to turn the continent of Africa. You're going to find the next line that didn't get cut all the way through, And you're going to carefully cut along that line and stop where you see the vertical line. And this one needs to be cut all the way and stop. If you have a bit of a mistake, don't worry about it. I have tape and we can fix it. Cut all the way along the line by fitting your scissors in the inside and stop. All the way over and stop. This one has to go a little bit farther, all the way over and stop. Fit the scissors in, cut to the edge and stop. And if I look, these are all cut to those lines, all the way to the bottom. I don't even know if we should do this last one. I should wipe this out. Let's see if I've cut all these. No, I'm going to turn it this way. Open this up. Oh, look, I have a little bit more to go. Even if it's not perfect, you want to go as straight as possible and stop. Straight, stop. Straight over and stop. Straight up, straight over. Sometimes it's hard to get your scissors in here. Staying on the line, you're just cutting a straight line. Shouldn't be too hard. It just gets to be a little bit tricky. Straight over. Stop. Straight over. Stop. Straight over and stop. And straight over and stop. And one last one. I'm skipping the bottom. I probably have this whited out by the time you see it. I don't want to do the bottom. We don't really have a lot of room to weave. And these are the little papers and the little part of this project that we're going to weave paper through. Let me show you an example. All right, boys and girls, as you can see, we can see the continent of Africa. The flip side, the back. This is going to be the front, but we can weave from the back. And what you're going to do is you're going to get a strip of paper, or strips of paper, and we're all going to start at the same line. This I think I'm going to have whited out. And to do a weaving, you go under the paper, and then over the paper. Under the paper, over the paper. It's always the same. 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Under, over. Under, over. Under, over. And you can kind of feed it through. Under, don't skip through 2. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. It gets tricky. They start to slide all over, under, over, under, over, under. Now on the last one, you want to slide it all the way over. And let's flip it over and see how it looks on the front. Looks good. And you can see that I can fit shorter strips in here. And what I'm going to do is just cut the end off here. This is the back. So I can tape it down, or we can tape it down. You don't have to tape it down right away. I wouldn't suggest that when you're just starting out. This is going to be the back. And there you go. Now the next one is going to be the opposite. So let me flip it over. This one started under. I started under. So this next one, I've got to do the opposite. I've got to go over, under. You don't have to use the same color. We'll have all sorts of colors to work with. over, under. Over. Takes a while to get through this paper. My paper isn't very thick. Yours will be thicker, so it'll be easier to manage. And we're just doing the opposites, and we're going all the way up. And we'll have a shorter paper for the edges. And here we go. Always doing the opposite. And then we'll once again flip. And look at that. I can cut the edge down right about here. I can tape it into place so it doesn't slide over on me. The problem with you guys sometimes taping it in place is you don't push it over far enough. You gotta push it, push. I'm gonna tape this down. And I'm gonna tape this side down. And then you can see the other side. Now it's going to look very different because we're going to cut the continent out. But not yet. We need a little strength. Right, boys and girls, that's the first step. Thank you.
Hello, boys and girls. In our paper weaving project, we need to make sure that we start weaving paper strips, which is called the weft, through the other paper, which is called the warp, going over, under, over, under.